to save a little bit of time, I actually went ahead and swatched out the Fineliners here, and now I will add a bit of water. I mean, they had a couple of minutes, so hopefully that was enough for them to dry. So Pilot GTAC C4, as I said before, it does move. Derwent Line Maker, nothing. Muji 025, very lightly. And Uni Pen Fineliner 01, also nothing. I also like how very gentle the color or the ink moves into the water. Here sometimes the line can dissolve like completely. Here you still get the line there, just a very subtle ink dispersion. Okay, now that we've done the Fineliners, let's move on to acrylic pens. I'll do them in a certain color order, so I'll start with the brown, Uni Posca brown, and this is the PC5M. That's the largest that I have in Uni Posca. So you can see color-wise it's a lot lighter than the top, and it's a lot more interesting. Kind of similar to Lobster, but not exactly. So Molotow Lobster. This is the all or one for all, 2 millimeters. So it's more orange. This one has more kind of orange in there. Kind of, you know, similar to burnt sienna, not really burnt sienna, but within that color group. And you can see it's sort of starting to dry a little bit, even more powdery in a way, so quite far from the tip. And this one, I'd say fairly similar, not identical, but at least more similar. Okay, another Molotow, and this is Amazonas Light. I had trouble to pronounce this one. So you can see it shows you here that you need to give it a good shake up, and then it's good to go. Another lovely color, 4 millimeters. So this is a lovely contemporary khaki color. I used it actually in the recent fashion illustration, which is coming up soon. Then we have the Uni Posca Gold. Now, for the first time, I tried their bronze, and I love this nib. It's the PC3M. I thought it'll be too thick, but I can still achieve fine lines with it and like fine dots and things like that. Maybe line wise this would be finer, but this one is very temperamental. The nib is different, so you can see it's this one here, and sometimes things come out of it, sometimes then they don't. Also, I run out of these so quickly. So the PC1MR is the one I'm going to swatch out now, and the PC3M is the size I want to try this color in. So this is gold, and let's see, I mean, I don't want to waste that much gold swatching out a whole circle, but maybe I'll just do lines. Oh well, I'll go for it. So you can see, that's actually a good way to show you. It's now starting to run out of ink. So I need to kind of give it a little shake up, and sometimes you need to press on it and then the ink starts flowing again. But of course, when you're creating, that might get a bit annoying. So you can see it's happening fairly regularly. It seems, no, it ran out again. As I was just about to say, it seems to be fine. So, for small details it's fine, but to fill larger areas, it sort of looks a little bit uneven. But with this one, I can do both. And that's the bronze one. So I don't know if you can see, I'll give you a close up, but it's, the color is, the same, doesn't change, doesn't look streaky, and it doesn't run out. I don't need to push anything, I can fill in the entire circle. And it doesn't look like I need to go back and fill in some areas. So it's quite nice. I shall try this size in the gold as well. Okay, I am going to let things dry and hopefully the noise won't be back still, and then I can show you close-ups. I just realized I forgot to also include the Schmincke's masking tape. It's the one that doesn't stink. And I've got enough space here to do it with, so let's do it together. It's got a nice thin nib. And I will wait for it to dry and then add some watercolor and see how it works. What you will notice with this one when you first use it, it kind of has a nicer flow than the other masking tapes. It sort of feels almost more liquidy and it glides easier. So if you wanted to use it with a fine brush, you could really do that. So say for example, I get some of this, well I should squeeze it out onto, there we go, you need a little bit. You can also get it, I think, in colorless. I've got the blue one. So let's try the smallest of the dots, and you can see that works really nicely. I can get really minute detail. Whereas with the others, they feel a little bit too rubbery, and I wouldn't be able to do that with a brush. Also keep in mind, make sure it doesn't dry on your bristles because it is... Okay, I'm gonna wash the brush off straight away. Just to report back on the brush, I washed my brush really quickly in just the, the water that I usually use to paint with. And everything came off so easily. Masking fluid for covering specific area which should remain white on watercolor paper, smooth drawing carton, photographs or film, blue tinted odorless. Okay, so it says here masking fluid, drawing gum, colored, ammonia free in dispensing bottle. So the ammonia free is what makes it not stink, and that's a winner in my book. So it says here for watercolor, gouache, airbrush. So yeah, the silicone somehow is a little bit more fluid and it washes out easier, than previously you could forget about washing it out of a brush, even though you do it immediately. It would sort of dry onto your brush kind of straight away, and even washing it out, the brush was a goner. So this is like, I shouldn't tell you, but it's a pure sable spotter brush I used with, and I'm not going to use it in the future, but I just grabbed it without looking, and the bristles are absolutely fine. So yeah, goes to show, I guess, the quality of this one is pretty good. So let's wait for this to dry, and then we'll come back and do a bit of more color. Also, what's interesting that I just noticed, so although I said it doesn't dry onto the brush, I was thinking, does it take longer to dry? But no, the small dots are already completely dry. And it's been just, what, maybe a couple of minutes. And then these areas, they're also dry. The only ones that are not dry yet is where there's like a dome of the masking fluid, so it's quite thickly laid on, and I don't think generally this is what you would do anyway. In the future I would just use a brush to work it with rather than the pipette, because then you have more control. Because it's so fluid, it just kind of comes out in this sort of abstract way, which is good for abstract art, I suppose, but you know, it probably is a little bit more wasteful. So this masking fluid had some time to dry now, and sometimes you can notice that little drops of watercolor have dried on top of them if you were, you know, not avoiding it, but just slapping your watercolor everywhere. And so what you need to do, no one tells you to do that, but you just kind of need to go and dab some watercolor off, because what happens is that watercolor, you can, when you're going to be moving this masking tape off, it will likely smudge onto the paper. So sometimes I even kind of try to revet it if it comes off, and then just take it off. Really, it's a bit of extra work which you may not feel like doing, but sometimes it's worth it. Only takes a few seconds to do that. Okay, so let's try and lift this masking fluid. So mine I laid on quite thickly, and I'm hoping you had enough time. So generally the way to do this is just by lifting it with a rubber, and it should come off. Sometimes they come off in one piece. This one doesn't want to do that for some reason. I think I just maybe didn't give it enough time, but it's coming off perfectly fine with a little eraser, like so. So I'll just go ahead and take it all off, and we'll take a closer look at it. Also, I'll do these smaller bits right here. Look how cute that is. That worked really well. All right, I'll see you in a bit. So here we go. I have removed all the masking fluid. It removed really easily, no problems at all, and it's done really well. It dried really quickly, even in the areas that were thicker. One thing I noticed, it didn't pull up in one string, like in one piece. So maybe it needed a bit more time, but you know, if I was in a rush and I had to remove it, it still works. So let's look at the close-ups of the colors. So we've got Finetech Earth Set of 6 colors. We've got the Tibet Gold, we've got Bronze, and Golden Orange that separates into like a bronzy type of color with a bit of red in there. Like I can see a bit of the red in here. And then we have Red Brown and Red. Chocolate is beautiful as well. I just realized the color that I is sort of my most favorite, I didn't actually swatch it out, so let's just add it here. So you can buy them separately. That's the Indian Summer. It's super, super pigmented in the sense of there won't be any shining through of the paper. It's very, very opaque metallic color, and you don't need to build it up to look opaque. With some of them you do, but not the Indian Summer. So it's a gorgeous, gorgeous color. Great color palette for autumn, and this color as well. You can see it sort of fits in nicely with these colors too. So then we have M. Graham Azo Green. I ended up lifting some of this color here because it just was too much water in there, but you can see at the darkest it's got a lot more kind of earthier tone to it, and then it looks kind of nice and zingy around here. But again, if you wanted to use a green in your autumnal color palette, that's a great one. Pilot GTAC 04 Fineliner, Derwent Line Maker 03, Muji 025, and Unipan Fineliner, or Unipin rather, Fineliner 01. So 2 waterproof and 2 water soluble. Then we have Uni Posca PC M5 in brown, Molotow 2mm Lobster, Molotow 4mm Amazonas Light, Uni Posca PC 1MR Gold, Uni Posca PC 3M Bronze, and of course Schminke Masking Fluid, and I put a little new here. It's I think it's been released in the last couple of years, but it's a great addition. Absolutely no odor, and it worked beautifully. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. The boys are back from lunch, and that means I need to go and have my lunch. I will see you soon.